I got this shirt from GameStop shortly after the 2021 squeeze. It's Goku, Spirit Bomb time. So, basically, Mullen is about to do amazing things. I'm sure you watched my last video. I'm just here to answer any final questions, see if there's any, a lot of Googling going on with Mullen or YouTubing. See how many people show up. Right now we got 0 people in 45 seconds, and that's not normal. Normally after 25 seconds, there's 10 people. So Mullen earnings report is now May 4th. It's no longer May 16th, like all the brokers said. So they moved up their earnings date 12 days. At the close of May 4th, they're going to have their earnings. Yeah. People worried about the stock price going down when they just announced that March 28th to March 31st, retail bought 44 million shares, $135 million worth of retail buying power. February 11th to March 14th, we did 188 million shares. March 14th to March 28th, we did another, what was it? It was 188 million to 240 million, so it was 52 million shares. It's perfect. I'm buying some options. Not me personally, but somebody that wants to invest some money. And it's going to be the May 22nd $5.50 strike, which are going for $5 a contract. If you try to buy a lot of them and the order doesn't fulfill and it goes up to 10 cents a contract, I'm going to move down to the $6.50 contract and buy those $5 contracts because I really want $5 contracts. And then the other half of the money, we're going to put it on the July $10 strikes, which are going for 10 cents a contract. And so half the money in 5-cent contracts, half the money in 10-cent contracts, but the one's got 30 days to expire and the other one's got 3 months to expire. Yeah. On March 14th, they announced that the outstanding shares was 188 million and that it was 150 million retail public float, which was 82% ownership for retail. And on February 11th, before that, they announced that there was only 20 million shares in the public float, which means it grew 130 million shares. And it all happened between March 1st and March 14th when it ran from 52 cents to $2, and then they dropped it back down to $1 and eventually 72 cents. And retail just showed up and bought the dip. And the added dilution that we get every update is just the proof that dilution is happening and retail's the only one buying. They will do anything to stop retail from winning. As soon as they run out of the last 106 million shares plus the last 10 trading days of dilution, because they haven't given us an update on the last 10 days of dilution, we will know that the last 190 million shares they can ever dilute is going to be at $8.84 a share. And so you're going to see a rip from $2 to $8. That's all going to happen in 1 to 2 days. And then we might trade $8 to $6 for a couple days, but it's going to at least 20. It's going to at least, oh man, I like 30 or 40, but we'll see what happens. I'm going to play it day by day. And so if you're with me, basically where your head's got to be at is that on the run up, you make a lot of money. It could be even life-changing money. And I definitely recommend taking profits. But understand that there's life-changing money and then there's fuck you money. And if you cash out at the right times, buy back in at the right times, in order for them to get retail to sell, they got to do a little game like they did with AMC. And it takes anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks for them to actually send it on a downtrend. And in between, there's just massive rips up and massive rips down over and over again. And you can double your money every single rip after the first rip when you 100x your money because the volatility is so low on the options. It's a beautiful thing. There's options to use the shares to short sell the company. And that's what's happening. Robert Camus doesn't make any sense. All the shorting of stock, the reason why the cost to borrow went up to 700% and came back down without the stock rising was because they diluted to cover their short interest. And so if they got 100 million shares short, they can dilute 100 million shares and evaporate that. They can either cover their losses or they can cover their losses or they can let the price go up until people sell back to them. Those are their only two options ever. And we went down and they diluted. And so that's exactly what we're waiting for. Dilution news is always good news. What else? No questions? Today's price action on Mullen. So we haven't gone lower than $1.68. We haven't gone higher than $1.81. If you look at the last 60 days of trading, you haven't seen such a small spread, especially if you can compare it to percent change in a day and how many times it's changed. Like this thing is just trading 100% flatlined. You ain't never seen that type of slow moving stock unless the volume's just totally dead. But when you got, I mean, we're probably at 55 million volume right now. Yeah, you know it's going up. I think it will squeeze this week. I really do. But it might be Monday. It's definitely squeezing before earnings report. Earnings report on May 4th is that's the explanation of why it squoze. But like it's definitely going to be before the earnings report. Young Lee, I'm looking at 522 expiration options, and I'm buying anything that's a $5 contract. I saw some 550 strikes that were $5 a contract, but if you buy too many of them, it's going to move up to $10 a contract. And so rather than buying $10 contracts, I'm going to move down to 650 contracts and buy more $5 contracts. And I'm just looking for $5 contracts on May 22nd. And then I'm going to put half the money on July expiration $10 strikes, and those are 10 cents a contract. And so I'm going to have half 5-cent contracts, half 10-cent contracts. I mean, $20 is my floor, and we'll see what happens. So call options are the only thing that they can't dilute with, they can't cover. Call options, when you buy a call option, the market maker is always the seller, and they pawn it off to hedge funds that have agreed to short a certain part of the market. And call options are the only way you can guarantee that when this stock price goes up, the money you made is off the backs of the hedgies and not off the backs of making FOMO retailers bag holders. And so there's a lot of good thing about call options. I don't think most people exercise them. And so when anyone talks about a gamma ramp, you can't have a gamma ramp without an exercising. And it costs way too much to exercise options. And I just don't think most people play that way. So I think options are better because they cash out the profits and you're taking it from the people that have made your life miserable. So it's a win-win-win, and fuck that guy. I like to play squeezes. I have some algorithms that could trade 1,000 stocks at the same time and only enter when certain parameters hit, and can probably make me, like, of the 900 or 1,000 plays that I do, 900 are successful and all make 1%. The other 10% like break even, and I would make a fortune just slowly bleeding the market dry. It costs a lot of money to store data and build the algorithms, and basically I haven't been able to find someone that builds algorithms that actually understand options and stocks, and so it's like I have to build it. And I've tried building several things, and I've gotten close, but I just never had the capital behind me to actually have a portfolio margin account for $125,000. So getting the capital to do $50,000 to pay for these engineers, like $50,000 wasn't enough. I got the $50,000, I paid them, but I needed another $50,000. And so like I got all these ideas that just dominate the market, but when you see a short squeeze happening, you don't got to worry about, like, you just focus on the short squeeze. And there's gonna be lots of ups and downs, ups and downs. You can 1,000 to 10,000 extra money if you were to take all your profits on the way up and bet them all on the way down and bet them all on the way up, because you know that, like, they're moving it, they're swinging the stock so that they retail will finally sell and say, okay, like, it's obviously not going higher. I don't know what I'm gonna do. Like, I'm just gonna see how Mullen Squeeze plays out, see how much money I make, and then decide what I'm gonna do with my money from there. But, like, ultimately, long run, I want to run for governor of Arizona on the platform that I'm gonna annex from the United States, and they can put whatever sanctions they want on me, and, like, me and my people are gonna, we'll pay the sanctions, we'll agree to whatever legal demands are threatened outside of violence, and we're gonna build, like, man, I just want to build a better city, take care of the weakest, and help the people trying to help themselves, and eventually, like, just nobody struggling. That's the plan. How high do you think it will go? 20, 30, 40, 50? I start taking some profits at 20. But I'll let you guys know every time that I sell something and every time that I buy something. Like, it doesn't take me more than 3 minutes to update that video, and it will upload super quick too. Just bought another 1K Mullen, my man. That's the type of vibe we're looking for. That's the type of vibe we're looking for. It's so weird that Mullen was so quiet on the socials. Like, it had a good probably 2 to 3 week pump on Twitter. It had a good 2 to 3 week pump on Reddit. And some of it was slightly behind each other. Some of it intermingled at the same time. And everyone just went ghost silent. Like, everyone saw it happen. And, like, when all these other fake opportunities showed up, all these other pump and dumps showed up, everyone just, they just shut their mouths, walked away, and said, you know what? I'm just going to make my money, and I'm going to be happy this time. Fuck the MOAS, fuck AMC, fuck GME. We're just going to get paid, and we're not going to fuck around this time. That's all I'm seeing. And then obviously every talking head not giving any of the data on Mullen. They all bring up a little bullshit on Mullen, but they don't get, like, no one's giving you the real case, what Mullen really is, except for me. Alright, guys. Well, I just wanted to see how many people would show up. Not enough people Googling Mullen. It's crazy. It's weird. Social media is so quiet, but the Dilution news says absolutely not. Like, Reddit's been dead for 3 weeks, but, like, March 28th to March 31st, you can't find Mullen on Reddit. I'm the only thing that posted anything, and I didn't even get to post that much because I was banned for most of it. But yeah, it's like, they just saw what happened with AMC. Like, there's enough traders out there, they know how to read the data, and they know that retail showed up. It's just that simple. And I'm sure there's discords all over the world just, like, banging on the table, but they don't like to interact. They don't like to tell everyone else that what's about to happen. They want you to pay them for their advice. That's weird. Let's just all get rich, and then we can worry about that later. We can worry about that later. Fuck this quiet period nonsense. They announced something on March 14th. They announced another filing on March 28th. They announced another filing yesterday. Like, don't talk to me about this quiet period. They're clearly choosing what information they want to give. They're tweeting on Twitter. Don't talk about no bullshit quiet period. Please. Look at all these other stocks and all these other CEOs and chairmen of the boards. Ain't none of them been through a quiet period in their whole goddamn life. Get the fuck out of here with that shit. Everyone else allowed to pump something except for Mullen, except for the retail stock. Everyone's allowed to pump their stock and say how great they're going to be of a short squeeze, except for the Mullen stock. What calls I'm getting, like I got calls that expire this Friday, but my brother's reloading. Good for him, and I hope to make him $10 million before he gives me anything. And he's going to buy a shit ton of May 22nd $5 contracts, whatever the cheapest strike is for $5 contracts, which turns into $5 per contract. He's going to buy half in those, and then half in the July $10 strike expiration, where they're 10 cents a contract or $10 a contract after you do the times 100. And so it's as cheap as they ever get. Tons of theta. Can't go wrong. Guaranteed to win. And it's his last and final bet. And I said we're going to play it as bullish as possible, but lots of conservativeness as well. But you never get less than a 5 cent contract. And so because there's 30 days to expire for 5 cents a contract, I'm in it. I'm in it. Earnings call just got moved up to May 4th instead of May 16th. Woo! May 22nd looking golden. Squeeze comes before earnings call, people. Guaranteed. Bruh. That's so funny. Like, a lot of people are under a lot of stress right now investing in Mullen. The price has been as high as $4.18. It's all the way down to $1.70 right now. And a lot of people have lost a lot of money on options that expired. And it just doesn't... Like, we're not being braggy by talking about what we're buying. We're not being dangerous by telling people it's going to the moon. Instead, you're throwing out a lifeline to the people that just aren't sure. And they're like, is this really going to the moon? And so you explain the data and you give it everything that you have, because it's about everybody else and it's not about just you getting rich right now. That's why you pump this stock. That's why you pump a real retail squeeze stock. Is because you're pumping it for everybody else. Like, people that got in at 72 cents, they're still holding fine. They're still up a way over 100%. Some people even got lucky enough to get in at 52 cents. They're up over 300% right now. Like, I don't know. It just... I have to be that person. I have to be the most bullish person that causes people to lose money on early to expire options. Like, I had to be that person. And anything that's true, I'll say that helps the case. And so if I know people are buying more money, I tell everybody. Like, I've called everyone in my phone book. I scrolled through my phone book and I said, who have I had a serious relationship with that I believe they took life serious? They invested money. They bought real estate. They bought stocks. They knew that, like, money controlled this world, and it's not as hard as everyone acts like it is, but, like, it's hard enough to where they don't give it the fuck away. And they take life serious, and they don't go broke, and they do get to buy nice things because they take life serious. And so, like, I've called everybody on my phone book, and I've told them, like, this is it. This is just like GME and AMC. Like, it's got nowhere else to go but up. And they're all holding bags right now, but they're all holding. They text me a little bit once in a while, but like I tell them what happened with the updates, the news, all this good stuff. And most of them say, okay, I'm buying more. No, Ivy is garbage. I have a playlist called Sell Stocks Buy Options on my YouTube, and it's like a couple hours of 4 different videos. If you watch those videos, you can learn how to trade options over the course of 30-day swings where you expect at least 30% moves, and you'll be able to 5x your money every single month if you know that if it does a 30% move. And if you play both sides, you could 200% your money every month. And so, like, there's so many ways to trade the market. There's so many ways that you can win playing off the volatility. The easiest way to make money on the market, I mean, outside of when there's a short squeeze happening, is following the stocks that go up hundreds of percents in days or weeks and just slowly adding to your position that it's eventually going to go back down. And you always add more than you added last time when it loses and it moves against you, and you just buy puts. You can't ever lose more than you invested. And when you finally win, you make 3, 4, 5, 10 extra money. And when you 10 extra money, like you make it, like if you only bet 1% to start your risk and you add it into your position, you now made 10%. Now made 1,000% on your total 1% net risk. Like, there's lots of ways to trade the markets, people. And if I could have had a 125,000 portfolio margin account and another 125, maybe even $250,000 to spend on engineers to perfect how to trade this market, I would have 10 algos running right now, and whichever one does the best, like we'd be throwing the majority of the money at that. Like, there's so many ways to trade this market. Trades is not touching Mullen for the same reason you can't talk about Mullen on Wall Street Bets, because there's too many gamblers. There's 3 million people. They're all looking for the next GME and AMC, and because the market cap is so small, they all act like they're like manipulating the market, and the SEC could charge them for fraud if they told you to YOLO everything you got into Mullen. And so even worse than that, they like just keep their mouth shut and they don't say anything when they could at least just be quickly going over the data and then have a 30-minute video on something else. But like they don't want you to win. Anyone you know that you follow for stock advice, if they're not saying Mullen, they want you to lose money, I promise you. Like, it is their job to find people looking for stocks and then steer them in the wrong direction. I think the squeeze is today or tomorrow, people. Like, I say that so much, but the math is the math of the dilution of yesterday says that the last 10 days, if we're averaging 10 million shares a day of retail buying power, says that today's the last day. But maybe the one thing that I haven't mentioned in my videos is that we never got word if the 38 million insider shares have ever been sold. And so outside of that 106 million shares that I talked about in my last night's video, it could be that they had 140 million shares, 144 million shares, which would mean that if we're doing 10 million shares a day, it would take 15 days to hit it. And based off how many days, we're at day 12 right now. And so we'll see what happens. Scott got 20,000 shares. It's a hell of a portfolio. About to make $1 million. It all depends how Mullen plays out. I think I might cause a recession if people listen to what I say and let me expose how fragile and pathetic this market is and how corrupt and illegal it is too. Like, we can just move on to the next chapter. We don't need to be trading money no more. But if you expose how weak they are, if you expose how much everything is overpriced in society right now, and you expose how easy it could be to make the lowest standard of living so much better than what it is today, then people will come to it. Like, it will cause a recession to the rest of the world because they're not living up to the bar. They're not living up to the best of society, and there'll only be one best of society because they're actually trying in life. The big Kingsta, that's enough to, that could definitely be enough to get a down payment on a house. Especially if the housing market collapses when the interest rates go up. If they do collapse, it'll be temporary. We might see a 6-month to 1 to 2 year collapse, but as long as it's expensive to build housings are going to be worth a lot because the financial system's about to be exposed. And I don't know. I just know that, I don't know. Buy a house. I want a house. I live in a condo, but I want a house. Nope, we don't need MULN to report any good news, even though we know they have a plethora of it. All we need them to do is report dilution and that they have $300 million cash in hand to operate their business, and they don't know where to spend $200 million of it, and they paid off all their debts. So they're just sitting on cash, and it's not helping their business grow. Like, that's all they need to report, and with everything they've already reported, I mean, earnings call is definitely after the squeeze, people. Like, the squeeze happens, then we get the earnings call. And then we get the explanation of just how actually good the company really is going to be. And so it's not going to drop back down to $5 ever again. It might go to 40 and drop back down to 15 or $10, but it's never seeing $5 again. Too many people are going to hold this for $100. But that might not that might take another year or so. Like, it's going to be deliveries, and it's like they're going to have to be showing that they can catch up to Tesla at least 10% of it, like they got to prove that they can be the Lyft to Tesla the Uber. Like, that's what's happening. And from what I can see, they got everything set up to actually do that. Especially because they're trying to be the batteries and everybody else's EV cars. Like, they're trying to be a battery factory, and they sell their batteries to all other EV manufacturers. Like, that's got scalable power for sure. Ader's trash. I gotta ban you, bro. Don't come and push Ader on my channel. I'll just remove your comment. That's your one warning. Don't talk about Ader on my channel. Only amateurs are invested in Ader. You haven't even started your dilution war, and you act like you're about to go to the moon. We're finished with ours, bitch. We're finished. Another retard saying BBIG is the play. Tesla only sucks because it's a $1 trillion market cap. If Tesla was a $500 million market cap, it'd be the best company to buy in the whole world. I listen to Elon Musk. Like, if he can prove that he's not actually a bad guy and not doing everything at command for the elites that actually control the world, and he actually wants to go to Mars. My thing with Elon Musk, if he wants to go to Mars, and he did an interview just yesterday, and he says he wants to have a thing where he can send up to, I think it was 1,000 people at one time, and he says he's planning to send them there in the sense that they may never come back, and that they have to be able to survive if another rocket ship never shows up again for whatever reason. And my thing is Elon Musk better be on the first space shuttle to Mars. He better not build a rocket ship and say this is going to Mars and him not go and do the 4, 5, 6 year journey with them. Like, even if he wants to come back, it's going to be 3, 4, 5, 6 years, I'm pretty sure. If he doesn't go, that's pretty lame. He's just trying to kick people off the planet. Like, what the fuck? He says he's going to get government to pay loans for people to leave and go to Mars. What the fuck? Anyone that wants to go, he says, should be able to go. What the fuck? I mean, if you pay for it, and it's like, yeah, go for it. But you shouldn't be making everyone else poor on Earth because you want to go fucking travel on Mars. Alright, guys. You guys have a good day. Go Mullen. It's happening this week or the next. Way before May 4th, that's for sure. Way before May 4th. Daniel De Maria. You're good, man. 40K shares at 286. Which means you're sitting at probably like 60K right now, maybe a little more. Which means times that by 10 minimum. No, but we're going to 20, so that's actually times it by 12. I mean, that's $800,000. What more reassurance do you need than $800,000 if it only hits 20? I'm going to cash half at 20. And then the other half, I'm going to slowly cash out at 30, 35, 42. I'll take a little bit every time. All right, guys. See you later.